Hey, it's Alex from BoardGameCo, and first of all, I'd like to just thank you for clicking on the video, for choosing to watch this video, because in today's video I actually have a favor to ask, and this is about Quackalope and BoardGameCo, but this is not about Quackalope and BoardGameCo's ongoing feud and the race for subscribers and views and all that stuff, and that is fun, and Jesse, if you're listening, just cover your ears for a second, but hey everyone, I have plans. I'm gonna get Jesse back. I'm going to catch up. The battle's not over yet. This is an ongoing thing, and we will win in the end. That being said, Jesse, you can listen again. Hands off. But what this is not about the Quackalope BoardGameCo feud. This is about the Quackalope BoardGameCo podcast, otherwise known as the Weekly Quack. This is something I've been doing with Quackalope for few weeks now, probably closer to like a month and a half. The first 2 episodes are live on our podcast. I'll link down below, and we have a few prior episodes that are available on our Patreons only, but basically we've been doing a thing. We've been having fun with it. And before we talk about the actual podcast, let's just talk briefly about why I'm working with Quackalope and the brief history going on there. And I'll keep it short. I'll keep it as short as possible. But basically, I ran into Quackalope a while ago while seeing their videos on basically more and more Kickstarters, and going from them being some just random, I thought there's some random French YouTube board game thing, I had no clue. Quackalope, I called them Quackalope the first few times. I didn't realize who they were, what they were doing, and then the more I saw them, the more I realized that they were in this space, and they were doing a phenomenal job in this space. And keep in mind, I was nobody, and I still am nobody, but I was more nobody than I am now, and it was, but from the stance of a consumer, I guess, from the stance of someone who was looking at the big names, they went from being nobody along with me to being someone growing in the space, and I realized that they were doing an amazing job. I put Quackalope in my top 10 YouTubers list for a reason, because they had production values that were literally second to none, and they had a welcoming attitude, a welcoming style. You genuinely felt pulled into their videos. And so once I included them, they reached out to me. I have actually traded with Jan in the past as part of BoardGameCo, so we had that line of communication, and we started talking. We started trying to figure out ways to do things together, because we both liked different things about what we saw in the other. We both had elements of what the other was doing that appealed to us. They liked my Kickstarter coverage and the way I approached things from the stance of the value proposition, and while they liked that wasn't a huge fit for their channel. And on the reverse side, I loved their production quality, and I loved the way they welcomed people in, and the welcoming in, I definitely try to share that as much as possible, but the production quality and the sheer quality of the videos, the B-roll, the way they make everything look so pretty, I couldn't possibly rival that. And besides, they have another podcast called Played It Once, where they play a game once, and because many games only get played once, first impressions matter, and so they made a podcast about theirs. And I love that idea. I absolutely love it. I keep fighting for the principle, for the idea that you can review something after one play, with caveats, of course. And that'll be a video for another day, but they owned it. They created a podcast called Played It Once. You can't possibly criticize them for playing it once. That's what the podcast is called. I love that idea. I'm still so jealous. And ultimately, this entire working together is really just my long-term plans for a massive takeover, so I can take over Played It Once. That's the long-term goals. But short-term, we're working together on the Weekly Quack, because once we started talking, we realized that we really did want to work together, and we wanted to do so in a way that made sense. And our YouTube channels, while we have a lot of overlap in what we do, they're ultimately ours. We have our distinctive voices. We have a distinctive way we approach things, and we didn't think that, I guess, past a little feud on YouTube, we didn't really think that there was a ton of collaboration opportunity on YouTube. We felt we were both better to stay in our lane, to do what we did well. But a podcast, we can certainly try that, and so try it we have, and that's why we came up together. That's why we came up with the idea for the Weekly Quack, and we went back and forth on what it would cover, what we would do, what way could we work together to deliver something of hopefully of value to you as well as being fun for us. And in the end, that was, like I said, the Weekly Quack, which has it's a podcast that's more of a variety show. It covers different things, and the 3 things that we specifically try to cover is on the podcast, which is, it generally lasts around an hour, a little more. We're trying to fine-tune it to make sure that however long it is, it matches the content, that it's not overly long without being necessary. And so the segments we start off with Shelf or Sell every week, where we talk about a game that's either staying in our collection, that we've played it, we've validated its existence, we've validated our decision to keep it, or alternatively Sell, where we're going to get rid of it, we're going to trade it, sell it, and move on from our collection. And we talk every week about, each of us pick a game, myself, Jesse, and Jan all pick a game, and we tell the audience, tell each other what we're doing with it. And then of course we fight and talk back and forth about it, because that's really the fun. The conversation is the most fun. We briefly talk about the game, but then we follow it up with a lot of back and forth over why the other person is wrong and why they're making a huge mistake. From there we go into a medley minute, which is really just a tiny little segment. It's meant to be a minute each. It goes on longer, but it should be a minute each, where we just talk about something we've heard about, something to do with the news. Pandemic Legacy Season 0 is coming out, or Hoplomachus it has a new reprint. We pick something that's relevant. It might be industry news, it might be a game on our radar, it could be a variety of different things, but it's just something. It's just something to briefly talk about, bring up. Not a lot of conversation there, or at least more than there should be, but we try to keep it to a minimum. Both Quackalope and myself have a bad history of pretending that we're doing short videos, and then by the time the video's over, it's not short anymore. We go on for too long because we love what we're doing. We talk about what we're doing, and we're just having fun along the way. And from the medley minute, we go on to On the Radar, which is a segment in which we talk about games that are on our radar, games that we want to pick up. They don't have to be new, and they don't have to be Kickstarter, but they usually are new, and they usually are Kickstarter. I'd say maybe 75% of the titles we talk about are something new on Kickstarter. The other 20% or so are just a new game, a new announcement that this game is coming out and you can now get it, or maybe you'll be able to get it soon. And the last 5%, really, it could just be anything. Ultimately, it's a game that's on our radar, that we're interested in. We want to talk about it for one reason or another. And again, generally because it's new. So there will be a lot of Kickstarter coverage in there. But it's just something we want to talk about. It's a game we're interested in. And maybe we want to find out each other's opinions to sell us on whether we should be getting it. Or just talk about games, because talking about games ultimately is fun. And then finally, we tend to finish off the podcast with a little bit of audience feedback. We pick some sort of comment from a previous episode that someone might have asked a question about something we talked about, or perhaps asked a question completely unrelated to anything we've talked about, and then we'll talk about that for a few minutes. So we like to keep the audience involved, to feel like they're part of the conversation, because sadly, unlike YouTube, you don't have that comment section back and forth as active as we would like. But so we try to get what we can with that audience feedback section. And ultimately, the whole podcast is a lot of fun. We put it together every Tuesday night. We release it every Thursday. Every Thursday, roughly 12 p.m. it goes up. And it's just us talking, and it's fun. And in the link down below, you'll find 2 episodes up already. There'll be another episode dropping later today. And then, like I said, every Thursday from there. As far as why should you listen to it, it's really up to you. I mean, it depends on whether you're even a podcast person to begin with, but more importantly, what kind of content do you like? What kind of content do you engage with? I mean, the fact that you're watching this video, or the fact that you're watching Quackalope's video, means to some degree the stuff we do resonates with you, and hopefully that will continue in more of a conversational format. It's definitely something different, because unlike the usual content we produce, we don't have, when I do a video, it's just me talking to you. Straight up, me talking to you, no interruptions, there's no, except for my kids, of course, in the background here and there, but it's just me being able to talk to you, and just plain and simple. And when Quackalope does a video, it's heavily edited, and it's beautifully produced, but it's more of them. They usually have an intent and a purpose. We're playing a game, we're teaching you the rules, we're talking about something. Whereas when you put 3 people on a podcast, 3 people with very different ways of actually looking at games and what they enjoy and what gets them moving and the different personalities, it's an entirely different thing. And I think it's fun. My favorite episodes are those in which we're disagreeing with each other, where we are attacking each other's choice in games or the way they present something, and we're just having fun with it. And that might be something that you find fun to listen to. I don't really know, and you won't either until you download it. As far as the favor part, I'd like to ask you the favor of giving it a shot. Not if you're someone who doesn't listen to podcasts at all. If you're not listening to podcasts at all, then it is what it is. I don't think this is going to convert you into the podcast, realm, although maybe it will. Maybe it will, who really knows? But if you are someone who likes podcasts, I'd really appreciate it if you downloaded an episode. It doesn't have to be every single one, it doesn't have to be at all, whatever. Ultimately, consume content the way you want to consume content. But as a favor, if you could download 1 episode, just to see if it's for you. To see if it's something you like, and if it's not something you'd like, critical feedback. Critical feedback is hugely helpful. Tell us why. Tell us why it wasn't for you, whether it's because of something we're not doing well enough, maybe we ramble on too long, maybe we don't talk about the game enough, maybe whatever it is, or maybe it's just personal preference. Maybe you prefer something that's more rules heavy. Whether it's personal preference or criticism, we would love to hear it. It's the only way we can grow. My channel has not gotten to where it is. Quackalope's channel has not gotten to where it is by just doing the same thing and not being part of a conversation. Ultimately, when people give feedback, it helps us grow, it helps us pivot. And so yes, if you download it and you love it and you just want to say, guys, this is hilarious and I loved it and I enjoyed it, that would be awesome and much appreciated. But also, If you downloaded and you didn't like it and you want to tell us why, that is hugely appreciated too. Critical feedback is the only way we grow. It's the only way we pivot and adjust. And to be clear, it doesn't mean every single comment will be addressed, but the aggregate of opinions will help us form the direction of the podcast. The reason we have 2 up now and we had, 3 or 4 prior to that is because we pivoted, we adjusted, and we tried to ease our way into something that felt like more of a flow, combined with our own opinions as well as the opinions of our patrons who are listening and giving us feedback, and it's very incredibly helpful. Past that, head on over to Quackalope's channel. I'll link down below to that as well, but he's also putting out a video today talking about the podcast. He's also doing a pitch to his audience to get them to give it a shot. Again, past the favor as far as I'm concerned is downloading and listening to 1 episode. Past that, really, it comes down to whether you find value in the content. I can't expect you to listen to every single episode as a favor, but 1 is a favor and the rest is up to you. Although technically the first one's up to you too. I'm just asking for a favor. Other than that, later today there will be. Oh yeah, Quackalope's video is going to be much prettier than mine. We already talked about this. He makes stuff look pretty. I just have a conversation. Past that, later today, there will be another episode. I generally try to avoid doing 2 episodes a day. I don't want to overload either myself or the audience, and I try to avoid that, but just for scheduling reasons, Token Terrors, which is on Kickstarter, ending in, less than a week, I think, is going to be going up today just to give people as much time as possible to hopefully help them be of use to them. So there will be a video going up at 4 p.m. today, just before the workday ends, in case you want to catch something in or whatnot, 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So there will be a second video today, in case you're wondering why there is. Don't be surprised, that will be up. Past that, I am Alex Radcliffe from BoardGameCo. Thank you for clicking on this video. Thank you for watching it. It looks like we're coming in at around 13 minutes, which actually is pretty short for a BoardGameCo video, and I guess I'm proud of myself, and I'll try to avoid going on for too much longer to really drag this out. Once again, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for everything that has been going along this journey. I really appreciate it. You can like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff, and of course, listen to the podcast. And Quackalope, Jesse, I'm still coming after you.